Hello, everyone.
Hi Hamza, how are you?
Good to see you. It's very good to see you back again.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining. Um, great. It's good to see you back again. Thank you so much, everyone. So, everyone who is watching this event, thank you so much for joining back again. We have Khalid, Mohammed, Fahad, Akhtar, Osama, Nasir, Khalid with us. And I don't think that I need to introduce any of them because they are still super certified architects. They are here to share. They're here to answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions, please post on the message. And let me get started with that. So first of all, how you guys are doing?
Pretty good, Hamza. How about you?
Yeah, pretty busy actually. To be honest.
That's good. I think for everyone's benefit, why don't we start with our introductions? Because I'm not sure. I think that would be beneficial for all of the.
Good idea. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Who do you want to go first?
Anyone, just do.
You go ahead, Osama. Kick us off.
All right, I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. My name is Osama Nasir. Been working as a program architect at Salesforce for almost 6 years now. Prior to that, I spent most of my career in the Salesforce ecosystem, working for different partners and customers in various industries across multiple geos. I became a Salesforce certified technical architect in 2015. And it's been highly rewarding for me personally, as well as I've been able to help others as well. I can see some familiar names on the call, so hi to all of you. And this is my second time presenting here at Park Dreaming. Very excited and great to be back here.
Fahad, you go next.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Khalid. So guys, my name is Fahad. I've been working as a senior manager and I'm a Salesforce certified technical architect. I passed my CTA certification back in 2019. In addition to my senior manager role, I'm also leading the Global CTA Academy for Accenture. Just like Osama, I started my career back in Pakistan, and it's been a decade of working in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Thanks, Fahad. Kelvin, you go next.
I think we
have lost Kelvin.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'll go next. Okay, guys. Hi everyone. My name is Khalid Mohammed. I have been with the Salesforce ecosystem not that long. I think I've only been here for 7 years. I actually came into Salesforce and then I came into this ecosystem. But before Salesforce, I had about close to 16, 17 years of Siebel implementation experience globally. So I started as a custom Java, PHP, ASP, yes, classic ASP, Java, Swing, EJBs developer way back in early 2000, late 90s. And from there, I got an opportunity to join a small company, which started working on Siebel. And since 2001 till today, it's been a package product, CRM, linked to CRM. So for the first 15, 16 years, it was Siebel. And for the past 7 years, it has been Salesforce. So the journey has been really amazing. I have had the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing people. And like Fahad and Osama, I think my first 5 years as a professional were in Pakistan. I started my career in Pakistan, but in 2006, I actually moved out of Pakistan. And ever since then, I've been out. Thanks, guys. Nice to be here.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Go ahead, Osama.
All right. So we are around. We have 28 people here in this session looking and watching this. And so people, please speak to post your questions if you have any questions. So I have one question. So I know about Osama Khalid, you work at Salesforce. I'll come back to you. But from Fahad, I want to know. So Fahad, how's your day looks like, and what's your day looks like in a day when you go to the office in the morning? What do you do there? Spend time as a CTA. What's your role?
Yeah, so I'm currently working at one of the largest media house here in Australia. They have got 2 businesses mainly. They've got a print business and a digital ad business. So I'm currently working on a very large implementation of a multi-year program. my day looks like working on multiple fronts. It's include working on architecture. It's a multi-phase program, so making sure that we have got alignment on key issues, key designs that we need to solve. My current role is working as the program lead, and I've got a counterpart as well on the client side. So we make sure that for the phase that we are on, we've got a lot of solution design that goes in. So I review those solution design and make sure that we have got that end-to-end architecture is stable in terms of not having any issues. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
And how's your interaction with project managers and developers and architects, other team leaders? How do you interact? How usually you do interact with them on a daily basis?
So my interaction, we as architecture team a little bit ahead of the phase. So currently the project and delivery is going on. That's in phase 1, while the architecture team is working on phase 2. We are a little bit ahead of the team, planning, resolving issues, identifying key areas that we need to solve for. Making sure that we've got design alignments or at least key design decisions solved, and if any of that decisions involve having an interaction with business in terms of which functionality would sit where, or when we are going to decommission a certain functionality, then having those sort of decisions being taken at the right time and discussed with the business, so they've got their time to solve for that. By the time the phase finishes, we should have a very stable architecture that can go into delivery. So if I'm able to very clearly explain what a delivery cycle looks like, considering it's a large implementation, there are different teams working on different phases. Me being on architecture team is resolving those larger problems before the delivery team takes over and they take that into delivery.
Okay, that's good to hear. Now all this architectural stuff, and also actually I think that we have 2 different questions. So I'm going to cover up these questions right after asking the same questions with Osama and Khalid. So in Salesforce, you're working as Salesforce. So what does they look like to you? And you can answer that.
I think you should ask Khalid, what does day and night look like for him?
Okay, it's the same, mate. It's the same. So it's a good day when we know it's morning or it's evening. Like Salesforce keeps us quite busy. So Osama, you go, then I'll go next. Thanks.
All right, so I think it really depends on the program that you are involved. So ideally, as a program architect and as a CTA, you would be working on a large scale customer. You would be liaising with the senior stakeholders at the customer and enterprise architects, or at sometimes you also engage with C-level execs to basically provide them strategic advisory and guidance so that they can maximize their investment in Salesforce. What does a day look like? For me personally, because I think you would get a different answer depending upon who you ask on the team. For me personally, on my current program, I work with my customer senior stakeholders. We are ahead of the program. We are planning for what's coming in next 12 months. We also work with the architects on the customer side, the architects on the system integrators, and then the delivery team. As a CTA, not necessarily as a PA, but as a CTA, you would be wearing multiple hats and playing different roles at a customer. So sometimes, I think you asked a good question, how do we liaise with project managers? I think at some point, you would be wearing the PM hat as well, because if you are advising customer on feasibility, on the feasibility of the solution, you need to wear that PM hat to make sure that what's feasible for you and what's not. Right, so you need to be aware of what's going on in the program on a broader scale before you would be able to advise your customer. So I think to summarize what I said, I think we as a CTA and as a PA, we engage right from the top to the delivery team to advise the team accordingly. I should also mention that we are also responsible for leading some of our internal initiatives at Salesforce. That's a Salesforce specific thing. So we also kind of work internally with our internal stakeholders to drive those initiatives, as well as I think Khalid will also mention that we are also part of the internal CTA academy or boot camp, and we are responsible for developing the next generation of architects, including CTAs. So it's busy day.
Yeah, I'll just add something to it. I'm not sure if Kelvin's back, so I'm just going to jump in. Kelvin, if you are here, if you're back, just hoot. So I'll ask you to jump in. But basically, Hamza, what Osama is trying to say, our job is to help customers succeed. That's our primary role that we do, right? So when we get assigned on customers, and usually, as he said, that these are large-scale, enterprise, complex, hairy, scary customers, and our job is to help them succeed in that journey, right? And that involves design, implementation, stakeholder management, enterprise architecture, taking away the risk, de-risking the programs, de-risking the scenario, and sometimes also de-risking the environment, right? So sometimes it's not the technology, it's not the program, it's the people, right? Or it's the culture, or it's how they work, right? So our job as technologists, right? And this is really important for everybody to understand that we are technologists, but we are also leaders in leading program delivery, right? Our job, and that's how you succeed with your customers. Your job is to decrease the risks on their programs, ensure that they achieve success. And the way that you will help them achieve their success is really understand what success means to them. Is it financial? Is it culture? Is it outcome? Is it business value? Is it people? Is it change? Whatever that is, right? Your job is to help them on the journey, right? And that's what we do. Secondly, as Osama said, being on senior leadership roles, there are things that you have to play a part in within Salesforce, right? So I think our boss, like my and Osama, we share the same boss, Dennis Tong. He explains Salesforce culture very differently, right? He says that we are a startup, right? And it's hard to believe that when you have 70,000 people, you are a startup. We are a startup, right? But and because that's our internal culture. We are open to experiment, we are open to evolve, we are open to change. And that means there are a lot of internal things going on, right? In terms of enablement, in terms of learning, in terms of trying new things, new methodologies, new techniques, right? And then we get involved with those initiatives, upon which CTA is one of them. Being CTAs, you have to play a part in ensuring that learning and that growth keeps on going. Thanks.
That's wonderful. Thanks to all of you. We do have different questions from different panels. So I recommend all of you who wants to come in and join the stage, please join. You'll have the share audio and video option. Just click on it and I'll allow you to come up on the stage. First, let me go over the question asked by Junaid Yunus. Is that what would be the future of Interaction Studio SFMC, if you have any idea about it? Interaction Studio and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Do you have any idea about it? What's going to be the future of it?
I think you should ask the product team about the future.
Yeah.
I think what I would say is it's a growing product. It's one of the focus area for the marketing cloud product teams to work on, and we keep seeing the footprint of Interaction Studio keeps increasing in the market. I think that's all I can say for now. But yeah, it's definitely on the radar for our product teams, our leadership to invest on.
I agree. Great. The another one is that this architect needs to do scoping and efforts of resources. Any of you can answer that.
Let me take that one. So one of the reasons, so you don't become an architect in a day, right? It's usually a long journey. And that means that at some point of time, you would have understand what needs to be involved in delivering a solution, right? And you ideally should have delivered solutions in your history, in your past, right? Complex, detailed, this thing. So whether you do the scoping or you define the scoping, but your say is really important, right? And how are you going to keep your teams and your design teams and architects honest, right? As I said, a job of an architect is a leader. And you have to lead the outcomes, whatever those outcomes are, whoever they are for, right? So if you're not involved in the scoping and you don't understand what exactly you're trying to do, it makes that whole deliverable harder, Number one. Number two is that if you're not able to challenge or you're not able to educate, I think educate is probably the right word. In how do you help your junior team members, or let's say your larger team members, in understanding how a solution can be designed, how it should be designed, and you teach and help them grow as a part of that scoping, as a part of that estimation, as a part of that that whole journey. I think that's one of the best outcomes that you can achieve as an architect. So yes, you should be involved in scoping. Yes, you should have a say in their deliverables. Yes, you should help them learn during when you go through that process. That's my view of it.
Yep, I'll go second. So I think as Khalid said, I'll add to that, pretty much the same thing. So as an architect, you understand the overall architecture better than anyone on the project. And you should understand that. And having said that, our role, and at least my role on projects, is to provide estimations and at times review estimations as well, because of our understanding of sometimes we are able to find complexities better than other team members who do estimations. So I think that's part of my role. I have to provide and I have to review estimations as well. And as Khalid said, as an architect, you should be involved. You should be reviewing estimation. You should be doing scoping as well. The reason you should be doing scoping is because you understand how different systems are going to interact in the ecosystems, how different functionality is going to be built on Salesforce platform to be able to provide that. If the scope is, achievable within the phase, or are we not taking more than what we could deliver? Plus, identify complexities early in the phase.
Okay. Great, actually, a well-detailed answer. The next one is from Joey Chan. What is your why for going through your CTA journey? This is something I believe to be very important, especially since this is something that will take a lot of time, effort, and sacrifice. So what is your why for going through the CTA journey?
I'll take that one, and then maybe rest can jump in. Look, I think the way I answer this question, and this is a very common question from people who want to get onto this journey. I think the number one thing that I would say is, regardless of the outcome of this process, you become a really good consultant and an architect. You end up learning not only technology. I think everyone can learn technology, but I think in order to become a good architect, and that's the whole point of the CTA exam, you need to learn other things which are outside of the technology domain, right? So soft skills, presentation, how to tackle tough stakeholders, how to deal with them, to be able to think on the fly. I think those are the things that you will learn as you go through this journey. And this is my answer to all those people who are asking that why should we invest in our time and effort in this. Yes, I think one part of it is it is highly rewarding for all the obvious reasons, but then I think you become a really good architect and a consultant, which is why I believe that people should go go through this journey.
Fahad, you want to go first? Then I'll go next.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, my answer is going to be different. So for me, the why kept on changing depends upon at what point in my career I was really thinking about taking the exam. So initially, it looked like a natural career progression. You are a developer, you become a senior developer, naturally you want to become an architect. And that's why, my initial thought process of, let's become an architect. And then there's a certification, let's go and have it. But then as you start this learning, you start to uncover different things that you are learning, and the journey become very interesting of, I didn't know that those many things exist and what an architect do overall on a project. And you start off, that's a journey that you start. And I think I sort of underestimated when I started the journey of when I would become a CTA. But I think I learned along the way. I think everything that Osama mentioned, I think every architect, every CTA learned that across the journey. And becoming a CTA sort of achieves and give you a little bit of satisfaction of getting somewhere. But I think for me, just why I kept on changing initially was, let's become an architect because that's my natural career progression, to hope I'm enjoying this learning and I'm uncovering new things, and that is also helping me on my day-to-day job. So that was my why throughout, and what kept me motivated to go and have this and achieve this.
Amazing. Kelvin, okay, so thanks for coming back. Can I ask you to introduce yourself? And the question is, what's the why behind your CTA journey? So feel free to answer both of them.
Yeah, thanks, Khalid, and apologies for this issue. Had a network outage. This used to be my biggest nightmare. So that's another lesson for the CTA, right? Always have redundancy. And today, even my backup phone wasn't connecting. So anyway, so hi everyone. My name is Calvin Noronha. So I am also a program architect based in Salesforce, based in Melbourne, and I work alongside these fine gentlemen, Khalid and Osama. And I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for close to 10 years now, and got my CPA last year. And yeah, even I'm enjoy working at Salesforce, being a trusted advisor to our customers and helping them with all problems related to Salesforce architecture and thereabouts. And so, coming to the why of the CPA, I think I got part of what all my esteemed colleagues said, and I think I completely agree. For me, it was more of, I think, bringing a lot of things together. So obviously, I had different skills in Salesforce, and I think going on this whole CTA journey, it kind of helped me bring all these pieces together and help me become a better version of myself as a Salesforce architect. And I think that it also helped me kind of throw the light on some areas of myself which I probably thought maybe I'm good at it, but ended up being blind spots. So I ended up learning a lot in those areas. And I also feel that it made me a well-rounded architect. For example, I was mainly maybe technical leaning, and I think that we have to bring both those elements together, the business facing side as well as the technical side. And remember that the technical side is always enabling the business. So I think that was driven home by most of my preparation for the CTA. So that's why I think those are the main whys for me. And I really believe wholeheartedly in the concept of the journey. And I feel that it doesn't stop at the CTA. So it keeps going beyond it as well. So I think, yeah, that summarizes the why for me, really.
Thanks, Kelvin. Okay, so I'm going to be pretty honest here. The bonus is amazing. Okay, that's a joke. Okay, so my journey is a bit different from the other guys on this call, right? So I didn't have 15, 20, 10, even like single month experience in Salesforce when somebody told me about a CTA, right? So I learned about the CTA exam 1 week into Salesforce, and that was in July 2015. So I was 1 week into Salesforce as an organization. I was 1 week in Salesforce into as a technology. Right, I came from a very deep Siebel background. I mean, doing something very similar, but on a different technology platform, Siebel, like for 15 years, right? Having the ability to work on large-scale programs and basically solving exactly the same problems on a different technology. And then I joined Salesforce. And the reality is that when you have been doing something for that 15, 18 years, right? It's your old horse. You don't want to learn again. You don't want to go into that deep knowledge, right? And in the first few months, I realized that I don't know anything about Salesforce, right? And in my mind, it was, okay, how do I fix that problem? Right, that I was the Khalid Mohammed of Salesforce, right? Of Siebel before coming here. I had the ability to work on large-scale programs. I was a part of expert services. I was a part of global Oracle, TAM, Siebel expert services. One of the global leaders in integration and telco customers. How do I achieve that batch? Right. So how do I make that mark and achieve that batch and climb that mountain? But that was something behind it. But that's not the main reason I came into CTA. I decided to look at the CTA. The main reason is that when I got the chance to meet with a few CTAs face to face. So when you're working in Salesforce, right, you basically, especially with services and CSG, you basically have your access to a lot of different CTAs. People which have been doing this this amazing work and which have been CTAs for like 5-6 years when I joined Salesforce, right? So I'm talking about CTA number 11, CTA number 9 in the world, like people who actually wrote the program and designed the program. And when I met with them, I was like, wow. I mean, the way they expand and solve a problem, I could do the same thing. It just take me 2 years. How do they solve this thing in 2 minutes? right? And how are they able to draw a end-to-end journey in their mind and within a few seconds, and then explain that in 15 seconds, right? And how do they do this again and again, right? So then one common theme that I found is that all of them were CTAs, and they were involved in the CTA program in one way or another. Teacher, examiners, people which are helping other people cross the exam. And what I realized is that that's something I want to do. Right? So when you're joining in, when all of us came into IT, when all of us became consultants, we're like an architect. We want to become an architect, right? That's the first thing we do. But we don't have a roadmap. You don't know what exactly does an architect do. A CTA journey is basically an encapsulation and basically a compression of what you do in 15, 20 years as an architect. And that's what a journey do. But imagine having the ability or having that condensed available to you so that you can learn those skills very quickly, right? So the outcome of getting the CTA badge is the secondary outcome for me, right? So the first thing I wanted to do, I didn't want the CTA badge alone. I wanted the skill, I wanted the expertise, I wanted the confidence to be able to stand like all of those people and be so sure about the technology and so great about technology and so easily be able to defend it, right? And having the specialization expertise. And that's why I came into this, right? And believe me, now sitting on the other side of the table, I realize that the journey itself of people trying to get there, right? People trying to get there is more worthwhile than the actual outcome itself, right? I know that when I interned to a journey, I was a different guy. I could do all of these things. It could just take me 2 years to solve that customer problem. Now probably I can do it in a few hours. And this is what the journey enables you to do. Communication, people management, object and handling, knowledge of not only Salesforce as a technology, but exactly what are the technology problems that our customers face. It might be related to on-premise, it might be related to other technology, it might be related to people, culture, governance, change. Achieve that. Thanks. Thanks, Amber.
Great. Thank you so much for answering. I think this one is great. Let me put in Shumal. He wants to join the stage. Shumal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
And wow, too much Salesforce knowledge here. I'm literally shaking. So glad to see you all. It was really nice to have this opportunity to talk, all of you senior folks. One of the questions that I carry from a long time in my heart, and I'm sure that a lot of other senior Salesforce developers carries, is that when do you transition from developer role to the architect role? Like, what are the things that you know that, because as a senior developer, you mentor junior developers, you subordinates, you start to develop solutions from the architect perspective, at least starting designing solutions, process builders, knows the ins and outs. You start from time to time, you start picking up all those things that a architect does in their daily life. But for some reason, they kept stuck in that developer role and not able to come out of that role and be an actual architect, and wasn't able to leave those few things that differentiate between the architects and the developers. So I would really like to know your guys' point of view, that how we can transition from that developer role to the architect role, where we leave the developer mindset, the thought process behind, and start thinking as a architect and start talking as an architect and acting as an architect.
Who wants this? Fahad, you want to go first?
I'll ask Osama to go first. Osama, you want to take that?
Calvin, you take this one. We've been talking for a while now.
Okay, thank you. First of all, it's a great question, so thanks for that. I'll talk about my own experience, right? So I think my experience was on similar lines. So I did a lot of Salesforce development, all kinds of development before I slowly transitioned into an architect. And I think you don't leave a lot of it behind. I think a lot of that really helps you, and you kind of take it with you ahead as an architect. And I think the biggest difference, as a developer, you end up working in the weeds, so to speak, right? So you're focused on a particular problem, and you basically head down in that problem. So I think that's the main difference between a developer and architect, because architect probably has a better bird's eye view of the bigger pictures, and your ability to see that, grasp that, and also understand what's coming down the road, and make and design and architect your solution accordingly. So I think, yeah, that's the main thing for me. So that's how I transitioned. For the example is, let's say you're working on a trigger handler and stuff. You're really focused on the nitty-gritties of that solution. And so being able to peel back those layers and take a step above and start looking at the solution from all different angles, I think that's the first step of working towards being an architect. And I think that I did carry some of that stuff along with me, like the confidence of knowing exactly how the code works under the hood. It actually helps you a lot. So I think that's a great segue, I think, from being a developer and moving into that architect mindset. So I think the first step is always, as I said, go from looking at the small picture to the bigger picture and the evolving picture. I guess that's the way I've been looking at it, at least. So that's my perspective.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here. So first of all, very nice question, Shumail. I have a different opinion on this, right? So I'll tell you, an architect, in my eye, is a leader, right? And leader can be strong, very strong technically, or can be strong technically, right? An architect's job is to, first of all, lead a team of people, right? And basically lead them towards the outcome. And in that role, he has access to a lot of expert people on his team, which can actually solve those technical problems. His job is to guide them. But one of the biggest skill, which will help you stand apart, that are you ready to be an architect, is the attitude and the aptitude, right? Are you the person who is ready to help other people in succeeding? Remember, when you're working on a program, right, you will have multiple partners, you will have multiple teams, you will have multiple technologies, you will have multiple customers, and all of you are working towards achieving a single goal. Or a bunch of goals. Now, if any one of you falls down, or any one of you slows down, it's probably going to have a ripple effect on everybody. Everybody's going to slow down. Everybody's going to suffer, right? So your job as an architect is to make sure that everybody is going at the right speed together and everything aligns properly, right? You'll have project managers to help you keep an eye on that, right? You're not a task manager, but you have to make sure that people's tasks are progressing as they should be, right? So one of the key things that I believe that a transition from a developer to an architect is, a developer is that I should be the best in doing that, and an architect is that we should be the best in doing that. Not necessarily that is Osama who does it, or Kelvin who does it, or Shumail, you do it, but whoever has been assigned that job, I will ensure that we do an amazing job together. So it's the attitude and aptitude and the ability to not only think of your problems as your own, but to look at the whole team's problem as our own and help us solve it together. That's my view of it. And once people see this, once people see your ability and your attitude and your leadership and your basically aggressiveness towards solving those business problems, that actually opens up doors for you, right? I remember a long time ago when I started my career, that's one of the things that one of my bosses told me is that we can teach anybody to code, but the ability to stand up and lead and help and guide and own is something that has to come from inside, right? People can follow you, but are you the one that people want to follow, right? So that will come from inside, and you can learn this, right? You can learn this, right? Because when you are genuinely concerned about succeeding, when you're genuinely concerned about people succeeding, your team succeeding, you reaching an outcome, this will come automatically. Thanks.
Great question and great answer. Yeah. That's a really helpful question, and I think a lot of people are feeling a little light in their hearts, because this is one of the most asked question that we at least ask ourselves, that what we are not doing right in order to get to the next step. So thank you so much, Kelvin and Khalid, for that. The other question that I have is more related to the CTA exam. As we all know that the product is growing year after year, and it's pretty much cover add-on of the new products, the financial service cloud, education cloud, and all. So what do we need to have the knowledge of all of those clouds in order to, so like the basically the ask of this question is that how we would know that we are ready for the CTA exam and we can now go for it. So like we are done with the application and system architect certification, and now we are working as an architect for 1, 2, or 5 years. And what is that feeling that make you confident that you can now go for this exam and at least take a step for it?
Kelvin, you want to take this one? You want to lead it?
Sure. So if I understand the question correctly, Shumel, it's a great question. You're like, we're all ever expanding features that Salesforce has been adding. Like, how does it affect our preparation for the CTA, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So yeah. So my take on it, and firstly, I think I'll take this opportunity to first of all thank Khalid and Osama, because I think I've asked them this question maybe 10 times each, and so thank you both, because they're my senior CTS and they've played a huge role in my journey as well. So I think their answer to me, if I could summarize that, and I completely agree with that, is I think the main job of on this journey, being a CTA, is to understand, what are the boundaries of the features that the core Salesforce offers you, and how do you extend that functionality by maybe introducing another cloud, like you mentioned, education cloud or health cloud, any other cloud, right? What does that bring to the table? And what can it do that your core Salesforce, like Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, vanilla, doesn't do? So understanding the boundaries between it, and also understanding the justification for why are you introducing those cloud. So you don't have to learn them in depth. You need to learn them maybe at a high level. Just understand what they do, what are the main use cases, what business problems are they solving, in addition to what the core Salesforce provides. I think that having that kind of mindset will always be helpful. And the more clouds you look at, I think it'll help a lot. For me personally, I started looking at most of the clouds, like FSL or FSC, Education Cloud, Health Cloud. More stuff came in, like Consumer Goods Cloud, Manufacturing Cloud. Just understanding at a high level what they do. And the second thing for me was also understanding their data models, because for me personally, that's an area of interest. And just seeing, for a particular problem, how do they go about modeling the data and understanding what are the key elements for each of those different problems. So I think that's how I look at it. Obviously knowing them is a bonus, but you don't have to learn them in and out. And you can obviously just know the gist and the main use cases for each of those clouds. I think that's where I would start.
Osama, you want to take this?
I can go next. So I think Calvin has summarized it well. You wouldn't be expected to know that those individual clouds in detail, how it works, but on a high level, yes. If you're proposing, let's say, and this is purely from exam perspective, if you're proposing, let's say, revenue cloud or education cloud, whatever it is, right? You need to be able to justify why you are doing it. And then also, to Kelvin's point, knowing the data model is kind of must. Not to the level of every junction object of those products, but at least know the key objects that you're proposing as part of data model. Because I think that, to me, data model is one of the core areas of your entire solution in your CTA. That entire story revolves around that. So if you get that wrong, then you are digging a hole for yourself. So I think that's why. So knowing the cloud functionally, how it works and why would you propose a cloud, it is important. Knowing the data model, it is also important. And then you should be able to justify that. And I think, Chanel, you also had another question. Second part of your question was when you would feel ready about the exam. I think if you ask me, you would never feel ready about the exam. It doesn't matter how much you study about it, you would never feel ready for the exam. I remember before my review board, I had 7 sleepless nights in a row. So I think you would never be ready, regardless how many certifications you do, how many mock exams you go through. You would never feel ready. The way I approach such things is you work out a plan, and then just set a date, just set a hard date, and then follow that. Otherwise, you'll keep on extending the date. You'll keep on, studying and you'll never feel ready enough for the exam.
Shumal, I'll divide your question in two parts. I think your first part was that once you have completed system and application architecture certification, when do you get ready? So I think in my knowledge, every time I've seen candidates who come, and it's a prerequisite now to have system and application architecture certification, I think that there's a massive knowledge gap between the actual CD exam and just getting system and application architecture certification. And I think Khalid touched on those parts as well. It's communication, presentation skills, stakeholder management. You don't get to learn those skills from having a multiple choice exam. So of course you need to practice that. And it's a long journey. I think Osama answered the part that when do you feel ready? I think he gave some tips onto that, which is great, and I think that's exactly what you should do. Now, coming to your second part, which my experience with every time Salesforce completes an acquisition, it's not that from tomorrow onwards that cloud is going to be in the CT exam. It takes them a couple of years to be able to introduce that into the exam. And I think other CTs have already given you the tips of at least know the use cases of those cloud. And the best example is you've got native Salesforce reports, you've got Tableau CRM, and you've got Tableau. I love know that when to use which, because it goes back to the study guide, which talks about you should know what options do you have and when you are going to recommend that option. So it's one of those options. If you can achieve a particular requirement through multiple options, you should know all of them, and you should talk about the pros and cons and why you are recommending one over the other. That goes back to the study guide. So I think that's my view on that.
So guys, amazing answer. I'm just going to add one thing here, one small thing, right? So the CTA exam is an exam of the core, right? It's a core Salesforce platform exam. All of these app exchange packages or new technologies, you will get some flavors of it, but it's not really required to have detailed knowledge of those technologies to get through the exam, right? But let me flip that question around, right? As an architect, forget about the CDA. As an architect, you should be hungry for information, right? And you should know what Salesforce platform does well and what are things that it needs help in, right? You should understand that where it needs to utilize those new products. Why is Salesforce buying those tools and technology? Because yes, it will take us years to build those things on the platform. We have done an amazing job in terms of integration, single sign-on, data model, large data volume. But there's things that we can do and we should do, and there's things that we should not do because there are other people which are far ahead of us, right? And that is why we say, okay, rather than us starting this from scratch, let's go buy those products and technologies and start using that. So understand that in Salesforce, we as architects understand what the platform can do and what the platform cannot do, and where you need additional help, right? All of these things are supposed to help you. Now, if you look at our acquisitions, they are there to solve business problems that we have encountered on the field. Our acquisition of Velocity, our acquisition of MuleSoft, our acquisition of Tableau shows you that these were things where we used to recommend customers to go for app exchange packages. So you as an architect know this. We as an architect know this. When you work enough on the platform, that what we do well and what we don't do well. So when you know what we don't do well, where we need other packages, that's where your architectural skills comes in, that you understand it enough and you're able to guide the customers and your team of where we should be spending time and effort in customizing and where we should be leveraging all of these packages. And that flavor is the same flavor that you will see on the exam as well. When you get into the exam, you will see, okay, yes, you will get a business problem, like large business problem. And there will be things that you can easily do on the platform, and there are things that should not be done on the platform. You should know this as an architect. And then you make the choices that these are the packages, or these are the app exchange products, or these are the extra technologies we'll need as a part of it. And that's your architecture skills. And that's our gauge of it. I hope that helps, Ruman.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you, everyone. Another question, and I have a list of questions. I can go on all day, but I want to give the chance to the others as well. So just one important question and that is so let's say you are sitting with the stakeholder, there is a new set of requirement or business flows that are coming in, and you guys are not aware of some of the parts from the technical perspective or from the features perspective, that is totally new, and it can happen to someone. No one knows Salesforce from A to Z, right? So if you ever encounter that situation, how from an architect's perspective you guys take on that challenge?
I'm going to take this one, guys. I don't, this is a problem. Okay, so first of all, being in Salesforce, we experience this thing once every few months, right? Because we keep on buying new and new technology, right?
Every day.
If you like last year, sometimes every week we buy a new product, and then some customer might be using it, and we say, hey, you solved this problem for me. You should be an expert in it. You're a CTA. So the first thing is, as you said, not everybody can know the whole Salesforce platform. Except there are some of our CTAs which are absolutely amazing, and I'm sure some of them know the whole platform inside out, right? But you're absolutely right. But a lot of these things are out of the platform, right? And this is where you say, I'll get back to you. Learn this term, memorize it, use it, and be honest that yes, I don't know what it is, but I'll get back to you with it, right? And again, as an architect, you also need to be aware that you don't know everything. And there's no harm in accepting this in front of people that, guys, I'll get back to you by finding it out because some of those discussions, and as in Salesforce, as in your technology, get in touch with the right people. If a customer wants a face-to-face meeting, if a customer wants more information, arrange a meeting with those resident experts that you have access to come and help solve the problem. And when they solve the problem the first time, you will learn. When they solve this problem the second time in front of you, you will learn. And the third time, you won't need them. Right? And that is the way of an architect. Be honest, be transparent, but always be curious and with an open mind that I'm ready to learn. So show me how. Anybody else want to add something to this?
I think my view of not knowing the platform is that the knowledge curve goes ups and down. You know, you complete a couple of certification, you feel that, oh, I know a little bit, and then suddenly a couple of months later, because platform is growing quickly, 3 releases every year. Now release notes, it's very hard to read. It's a large PDF now, so every now and then you feel like, you know, completed a couple of certifications, I know a little bit, and then a couple of months later you feel like, you know, I need to brush up, I need to do a couple of more trails, I need to go and do a couple of more certification. It happens, and you know, we are on projects where we are learning from our team members. This internal CTA mock review board also helped me understand new features and new techniques and which architects are using. So, see, it's never a destination; it's a journey. You keep on learning as you are on the project, and I think that's what I do.
Oh, great. Okay, so that's pretty much clears all of my concerns. I was somewhat able to understand that this is a possibility, but I wanted the other curious fellows to also listen from the CTS that it is possible that there are chances that you can say this word that we can get back to you. There is a possibility of that. So thank you so much for that. And I promise just one last question. Where do I have to sign up in order to make you guys my mentor? It's really difficult to find a CTA to be your mentor. Or
You can always connect with us. I think LinkedIn and other forums. You can always reach out to us. Would be willing to help you out.
That would be good. So I have some of you in my LinkedIn friend list for a while, but I don't have that. You know, I was not able to gather that courage to message you guys to please help me out. I need to, you know, be on the CT path. But thank you so much, everyone, and that's all the question that I have.
Guys, I just want to, Hamza, if it's okay, can I add one thing here? So first of all, I created a small poll. So anybody who's a guest, I just want to understand how many of you aspire, hope to be a CTA one day, right? So just fill out the form, right? I just wanted to have a look at those responses, right? Number one. Number two is that I think we live in a very small world now, and as Shamal said, most of us are on LinkedIn. But I just want to add one thing here. There's nothing special. Well, the CTA is a special exam. Right? It's a special exam. It requires a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of internal change before you do it. But the reality is that 3 of us on this call are basically started just like you were started. right? Kelvin, I know, Kelvin is the same, right? He came as a developer, he worked through the ranks, and we are exactly like you, right? There's no difference, maybe 15, 20 years ago, just I talk to a lot of you guys, and like, it's like I'm looking at in the mirror, right? I'm seeing myself having a different face 20 years ago, right? And it's been a hard journey. It's been, but it's also been fulfilling. It's also been worthwhile. And when I look back to it, it's certainly enjoyable. I mean, the opportunities that you get to grow, to ask, to help other people succeed, right? As in customers, business outcomes, technology, challenges, that's fun, right? And you should be having fun while you're doing it, right? All of this technology, or like we have a very tangible outcome. When you look at the business side, and when you look at the other side, science and research, they never have a tangible outcome, right? For them, it's like hit and miss, and then level. Like it's like my feeble days, right? We didn't have a lot of help. All we had was one bookshelf, one media, one desktop sitting in front of my office, and that's it. Just solve the business problem, keep on hitting and trying. Salesforce is a different ecosystem, right? I mean, yes, first of all, get on the journey, right? So now when you go online, when you go to YouTube, when you go to Google and you search, hey, I want to do a CT mock, you'll find 200 videos. I mean, I'm sure when Osama did it, I think he's like one of the oldest CTs I know. When he did it, like about 7-8 years ago, there was nothing there, right? Now you have all of these tools and technology. So first of all, that discipline and that hunger is really important, right? And as Steve Jobs said in his Stanford address, you need to be sometimes stupid, right? To make the right mistakes and learn from them, right? We have made tons of mistakes, right? But we only make them once. That's the architect. You make those things once, and then you ensure that never happens either when you are involved or when your team member is involved. That is the job of an architect, right? Osama, Fahad, Kelvin, you want to add something to that?
What I will add, I think, first of all, CTAs are not special humans. They're just humans like, all of you. The second thing is always be curious about learning about yourself, about how to become a better person than what you were, yesterday. And that includes both personally and professionally. So I think that will keep you on going. And one day you will definitely be one of the CTAs. So just keep on learning. I think you can't compare someone's 1000th day with someone's first day. It's a famous saying. So I think all of us started from where you started. And I think when I say this, I'm talking literally, because a lot of us have worked on the same company, and I know most of you what I mean by that. We literally started just like yourself, and then eventually, I think one day you'll also become a CTA and will be a successful professional in the long run. So I think the key is be curious, network with people. I think that is the most important thing I've learned. Regardless of how many certifications you have, you should network. You should meet with people.
I think one thing that I want to add, I think Shumali mentioned that you got most of us on your LinkedIn, but you didn't get the courage to contact us. I think I want to encourage it. I want to tell you and everybody who's on the call, if you've got a question, if you want to ask, if you've got career-related guidance that you want to take, reach out to the people who are 5, 10, 15 years ahead of you. They can guide you from their experiences. Take the courage. The worst thing, what's going to happen? They will be busy. They won't respond you back. I mean, that's the worst that can happen. Reach out to somebody else, but always have that courage, because they will help you make the right decision in your career, and that's going to be that can become a big difference.
Great, that's great.
Yeah, and just to prove this point of Osama's that we are all coming from the same place, just to add one thing here, I have made changes into the Fahad's codes that he has written for one of the project 10, 12 years back. So that proves it that we are all coming from the same place.
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Don't comment on it.
If you have seen my
the mistakes I talked about, will be apparent. Don't tell anyone.
Well, as long as somebody knows that I've written that code, which means the comments are there.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I identified. Thank you so much. That's all the question from my side. Thank you so much for answering all those questions, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Thanks for your
thank you
time,
so
and wish you
much
the
for
best of luck
coming
from
up.
all of us.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Alright. And I know it's time, but we have a couple of quickly go through. The first one is for Mark. When designing solution architecture for fresh, allowing for analytics deliverables and not thanks. You want me to repeat it? So when
Yeah.
designing
I think most of us have left. So yeah, I think most of the people are left. So for next time.
I think
Have
there
fun.
are still a few
Thank
people
you.
on the call.
Okay. I think there are only 4 people on the call. That's 4 of us.
No, it's actually 41 people watching this.
Okay, cool.
I can
Yeah,
see
so
that.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys have time, let's take another question. Go ahead, Hamza, please.
Actually, we have. I just gotta take. Mark posted this question 30 minutes, 38 minutes of designing solution architecture for a fresh solution for analytics deliverables and not purely authentic one, but yeah.
So I don't know
Hamza,
if
you are a
Mark
bit
is.
hard to hear. You're a
Yeah,
bit hard to hear. Osama, can you type the question on the
I
chat?
can.
And
It's on the Q.
Is
It's
it
there
on
on the
Q&A?
Q&A. It's in
Yeah,
the
let me-
Q&A. So it's Mark Tossell question. I'm not sure if Mark is still on the call though. He had his session.
He is not in the call.
I think he has already left. So you might want to take another one.
Yeah, he had to left.
Yeah. I see this question from Halima. What are the prospects for a finance professional who wants to make a career switch? Where should they start from? Maybe I want to answer that because I think it's important because a lot of people now want to switch their career from whatever they're doing to Salesforce, and we have someone on the call who switched his career from a finance profession to a successful Salesforce leader. So to answer your question, yes, first of all, it is possible. And kudos to you for even considering that. So that's great. I think using your financial background and then using your Salesforce knowledge, you can become a really, really, really good, successful and valuable resource in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I think what I would suggest is starting from Trailhead would be the ultimate guidance, that you can start from Trailhead, learn the foundation of the platform. You can go through the admin and platform foundational knowledge, and then you can think about how you will apply your finance knowledge into building finance related applications on the Salesforce platform. So it may sound difficult, it may sound challenging, but I can tell you there are a lot of people who have been through this journey and have made successful transition from being a finance professional to become a successful Salesforce consultant.
And one more thing from Mira as well. I'm sure the time is we can skip it.
Yeah, let's take a few
call.
more. Yeah. I think I have a few minutes. I think I have 5-10 minutes left. Let's go. There was a question I wanted to answer from Shoaib. Shoaib asked a question on chat. Just wanted to help him understand that Shoaib asked a question about that he is not a graduate yet, and he's working as a full-time in a customer service team, and he wants to understand if he has this career in Salesforce. Yes, of course you do. We have people 10 years old who are doing CTA, not CTA, but who are doing Salesforce certifications, right? And they are learning, right? A lot of so one of the things that we enable for our customers and a lot of our people that we work with is that having non-technology people be able to work and configure Salesforce platform. right? We have admins which is sit on the BAs, or which are BAs, which are sitting on the business side, which are sitting on different sides of the equation, and they are helping Salesforce Salesforce technology by creating reports, by doing delegated administration, by doing basic, simple workflows and technology and all of those things, right? Not everybody who is working on Salesforce has to be an architect. Right, you have admins, you have senior admins, you have BAs, right? That's not the only career path. Right, architect is probably the most specialist expertise, technical expert on the platform. But you have program managers, you have business analysts, you have all of those things whose job it is to actually configure the platform on different ways, right? User requirements, do testing, which do not need a lot of technical skills, right? So if that's your question, that how do I need to, that if I don't have a graduate degree, does it actually impede my career with Salesforce? No. But if you want to be a good IT professional, all right, that's where your degrees come into play, because they'll give you foundational knowledge. So remember, in the start of my career, I told you the guys that when I gave my CT exam, I think I was 16-17 months into Salesforce as a technology. Right, but I had about 18 years of other technology experience before I came in. That was the foundation for me to become an architect. I will not lose that skill either if I move to a different technology or I move to a different company. Right, because those are foundational skills. What your graduate degrees do is they give you those functional, foundational knowledge to be able to function properly as a professional, but also a decent human being. Right, so it's not only the technology or the skills part, it's also the skills of communication and all of those things, right? So I would really recommend that if you are thinking about it, I would really strongly recommend that you do both of them together. Will it impede your Salesforce career? Probably not. Will it expose you to a block very soon in your career? Probably yes. Osama, you want to add to that?
No, I think you've summarized it pretty much. I think that's a good summary.
Kelvin, you want to add something to that?
No, I think your summary was perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you want to take Mira's question next, because I think this is going to be extremely valuable for everyone in working in Salesforce implementations.
Which one is that? Right? I don't know.
I think it's customization over using standard capability, and how do we go about that?
Customization. What? No. So here's the thing. So Sama, I think you go first. Then I'll add over there.
Okay. So my take on is that, so customization is not a dirty word, right? It's not that as an experienced consultant, as an architect, or even Salesforce as the vendor organization, they discourage customization. That's not the case. It is a beneficial thing. You can extend the functionality to meet other business requirements, which is great. I think the trick is that regardless of how much you customize, I think there should be good governance around it, because the problem with customization is if you start heavily customizing your Salesforce org, it's going to become a maintenance nightmare in the long run. And which is why people talk about discouraging customization, so that you can rely on standard functionality, use it, so that they don't have to maintain the entire thing in the long run. Now, if it's a must-have requirement, then yes, you will try to find the right balance. If you can meet, let's say, 80% of the requirements using standard functionality, then you may try to convince your customer. If that's not the case, then yes, you can go about customizing the solution, but then you want to make sure that how you're using all the best practices and recommendations to make sure that your solution is easy to maintain in the long run. That's how I take it. I'll tell you the reality of my current customer. They have probably one of the best DevOps teams in Australia, and they don't like using flows at all, right? Just because I think a lot of you can relate to this. Using flows is probably not really easy when it comes to using it with version control and include it in your deployment pipelines and all of that. That's why they don't like it. But on the other hand, the current capability of their team is so high that they can maintain and manage the entire customization bit pretty easily. They still do the fortnightly releases. They hardly come across any major bugs in those releases because of the governance that they have put as part of their release process, starting from development to over to the release process. So to summarize what I said, I think customization is not a dirty word. You can go with a customized solution as long as you can maintain in the long run.
Yes, I'm just going to add something to what Osama said. Okay, if I take you before Salesforce, customization meant something different to what it means in the Salesforce platform. Right? So if I take you back to my Siebel days or when I was working with SAP CRM, Great Plains, maybe some of you have heard of this or not, but Microsoft CRM used to be called Great Plains at one point of time. This is like early releases, 2001, 2002. I had the opportunity to work on that. Then you have Sugar CRM, then you had SAP CRM, then you had Siebel. One of the common problem with them is that they were an amazing technology. All of them were amazing technology. There's nothing wrong with that. But one of the things was it didn't have boundaries into what you could customize and what you could not customize. And what happened in most of the implementation is that an upgrade was out of the question. You customize this to an extent that you could not upgrade it. You had to rebuild it. Right? And because it wasn't SaaS, everything was on premise. That means you, as the customer, as a SI, as a development partner, were responsible for maintaining and upgrading it, right? And usually, if the overall implementation costed, let's say, $10 million, the upgrade would cost you $4 million. Right? Most of my Siebel customers that I worked with didn't really upgrade till a few years after the end of life of the version they were on, because it was such a pain. Think of this, that you're just upgrading the platform, 14, 18 months waterfall program with zero functional value. Yes, you'll get technical value because you'll be faster, maybe faster support for databases, better support for hardware, better support for RAM, from 32. So I've seen this from 16-bit to 32-bit and from 32-bit to 64-bit. Right, and this was a problem, right? Because your processes running on your hardware were slower and stuff like that, right? So I am that old, but in Salesforce it's different, right? First of all, we'll never let you touch code which will stop you from upgrading, because upgrade is not your responsibility, it's ours as a technology, as a product, right? And that's the SaaS, the software as a service model. We will take that problem away from you. Now, the second aspect was, how do we maintain this? And that's what Osama is talking about. Customization is hard because it's hard to report on it. It's how to control it. People can get in bad script in there, and if you don't have the right governance process in place, you will get something which will basically cause problem for the system, cause problem for production, right? Unless until you don't have the right skilled people or people which will actually keep a good eye on it, and that's hard. So customization is never a bad thing. In Salesforce, we do two types of customization. One, where we are writing code or doing something which is automating a process. So in the Salesforce UI, you click one button here, second button here, third button here, write some fields, press a button, and a platform event goes up. And you say, no, I don't want the user to click 5 times. I want to click one button, all of this thing happens automatically. It goes over there, fills out all of this form from external source, calls the web service and send it out, whatever, right? So you're automating it. You're not changing the process is still there, right? And I think one of the job that I think me, Osama, Kelvin have to do a lot of time is to convince our customers and influence them that, guys, this is not customization. Let me take you back. This is not that problem. You're not exposed to this problem. Yes, you will have an application maintenance problem. You might have an application growth problem. And you will be reliant on the people who do it. But if you do it right, those problems go away. Right, and that's where the governance and the skills and you being an architect comes into play. That how do you educate your people? How do you tell them what is the right way, what is the wrong way? That's a different story. First of all, what's the best way in my scenario, in my need, and based upon my skills, based upon my culture? And once I'm motivated away from that, what's the best way for you right now and for you in the future? I hope that helps, Mira. But a really good question.
Yeah, that's great. And you guys, you want to come in there, more people are chiming in. So it's up to you if you want to close this.
Keep on going, mate. Keep on going. I would kill for an opportunity like this 20 years ago. Keep on going. I don't mind.
All right. So much for you believe your injuries.
Hamza, I think we lost you, but let's take the next question with Aslan. I can see you, but I can't hear you. So I'm just going to go to the next question from Aslan. So when you have both an application and system architect, what should you do next? How do you start preparing for it after finding a mentor? And or what should your first move be after you're done with your prereqs for the CTA? And the second is how to deal with an imposter syndrome. Okay, so because Kelvin, you are the last of the three of us which has done the CTA, I'm going to ask you to lead this question.
Sure. And I think this is a great question. Thank you, Aslan. So system architect, application architect, both are great milestones on your journey to CTA. But as you know very well, there is quite a considerable distance between getting both those certifications and doing the CTA. So for me, the best thing to do after that is, first of all, educating ourselves about the CTA itself. Like, what is the CTA? Begin with the most obvious place, the study guide. Understand what are the different domains that the CTA tests you about, and never underestimate the power of the community. So we have a great Trailblazer group, a community group on the Trailblazer community online, which is actually managed by our official CTA team. And so please join that group. And there'll be all the latest information about the CTA in there. So the best thing is, as you know, and Khalid explained previously, there's so much information about the CTA now, prevalent, right? And it's publicly accessible. So start getting your mind wrapped around, all of those different resources, which weren't there for many of us when we were doing CTA. Maybe partially for me, but it's gotten better since I did my CTA as well. So I think these would be the first line of resources that you would need to start looking into. And then obviously try to find a group of folks that you can basically study and plan your CTA with. And you don't have any geographic boundaries. These can be folks from all over the place, and I can see people doing that, forming these groups and then keeping each other accountable, and then working and studying for the CTA. And then again, the study guide should tell you what it is. There's got so many people now who have shared their experiences, so that will again tell you what to do, where to start, how do you start your journey. And of course, the next part is finding a mentor, which is easier said than done. But there are many folks now who have volunteered their time, and obviously the CTA team is also going to help you in this regard. And I believe the process has slightly changed. You know that we also have a CTA 602 exam now, which is like the evaluation exam. So there are more steps. So please learn about those things. So I think these are the steps. I think the most important steps you need to do after your system and application architect. So I'll quickly jump to the second question, more important one, imposter syndrome, right? So I think this is reality for all of us, and sometimes, believe it or not, this happens to all of us. I think part of it is having the mental fortitude of being confident. And I read somewhere that it is not good to be overconfident. It is not good to be underconfident. You need to have the right amount of confidence. And I think that is, again, one of the benefits of embarking on this journey to the CTA. And I think that being able to do most of the things which Khalid and Osama spoke about previously about the CTA, right? The way you go about building that knowledge, the way you go about changing and transforming yourself, that goes a long way in actually removing some of the symptoms of imposter syndrome. But that's not really going to go away. And the way that we work in the CTA, we have to be very so dynamic, learning new things all the time, and then trying to be an expert about those things. That's basically second nature in the business that we deal with. And so I think just being confident in your abilities and learning things the right way, that will really help you a lot in dealing with this. So yeah, that's my take on it. Thank you.
It's a really good question, and I am glad that someone asked the question about imposter syndrome. I think Kelvin kind of summarized it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a series of TED videos here. I think when you have time, go through that. It really talks about how can you use imposter syndrome as a benefit to yourself and to your success. So I'm going to post a link here. When you have some time, please go through that. You would find it really useful.
Yeah. There's a question by Wakar Hussain, who said he's been studying for identity and access management for a couple of months, which is my last step to becoming a certified system architect. So first of all, congratulations. And here's something off the record. Don't tell this to anybody. I am not a system architect and an application architect yet. They'll come after me. But I did my CTA exam a long time before these exams became important and they became relevant for the CTA journey. So I've not gone there. I know soon somebody will learn of this and they'll come and ask me that you used to do the certifications. But so I just want to congratulate you on becoming completing all those exams, right? So they are really good and they will help you expose you to all those hidden areas of Salesforce that you sometimes do not have the opportunity to work on your customers. The second thing that you, but the question is that my employer is saying it is not worth to go through the CTA certification because it takes too much time. What is your suggestion? Should I go for CTA or instead focus on learning new tools, technologies like marketing cloud, commerce cloud, etc.? Okay, so I'm just gonna leave this question, Osama and Kelvin. You guys jump on after that. Okay, so first of all, each of us that you see on the screen in front of you, including Osama, Fahad, Kelvin, myself, and every single CTA I know, either in Salesforce or out of Salesforce, did not break from his job to do the CTA. Right? We did it above and beyond our job. Right? I mean, I remember. So when because I live in Sydney, that's where I've been for the past 12 years. When I was one of the first who did the CTA board in Sydney, right? So usually internally we had people who had to travel out of Australia, who had to probably go somewhere in Europe or North America to do the exam. Now they're available nearly everywhere globally, right? You have the Middle East coming in, you have APAC, you have ANZ, you have North America, you have South America, Europe. So your travel is probably going to be very less. But when people before me, Australians did it, they had to travel somewhere out of Australia, right? So they usually got a week's break before the exam and stuff like that. I didn't even get that, right? So I did my CTA exam in the morning between 8 and I think it was 1 p.m. I took a half a day off for my customer, and at 2 p.m. I was back at my customer. Right. So a lot of us have done this thing. Now, if your employer is concerned that will take a lot of time away, yes, it will. There's no doubt about it. But it's your job to ensure that you do not take that time from your employer's time. You have a responsibility towards your employer, right? They are there, and that's your professionalism coming into play. That you have to assure him and you have to give him confidence that, yes, I'm going to do the CTA for something that I want to do. And it's going to be a hard journey, right? For some people, the journey was 5 years. For some people, the journey was 7 years. For people like me, it was like 16 months. We know a person for whom it was 8 months, right? So the journey is different depending on who you are, right? So don't change that. Don't rush into it, right? Do it when you are comfortable. But when you've thought about doing it, have a discipline. Like for me, it was getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? From 4 a.m. to 7:30, 8, I used to study. And then 8 o'clock, I used to go over to my employer. And by 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10, I was at bed, right? Coming from Karachi, that was hard, right? We never go to sleep early, right? So for me, that was a personal change I had to do, right? For this exam. And to do this for an extended period of time, 4 or 5 months, right? But that was a good behavior. I understood that sleeping late, getting up early is not good for my health, it's not good for my everything. But I took that, right? It's positive change that I included, that I learned to do as a part of the CT exam, is to ensure that discipline. So Vakar, if I were you, I would actually help build confidence to my employer that, sir, I'm going to be working towards this exam. I'm not going to do it in 4 months or 6 months or 12 months. I'm going to do it at my own pace. But I assure you that your work or the work that you expect from me will not be hurt. Osama, Kelvin, you want to add to that?
I think that was a great summary, Khalid. What I like to add is, again, we'd welcome you, Wakar, to kind of look at the CTA again and see what's your perspective more than looking at others, right? Obviously that's important, but also you see whether the CTA really is something that you should go for. And obviously you got testimony from all of us and so many other people now publicly, right? So you know what it is and whether it makes sense for you. And of course, the last part of your question, you're mentioning other technologies like marketing cloud, commerce cloud, right? So some of those elements are part of the CTA, but because of this, as you know, Salesforce did bring up these other pyramids, right? We have the B2C solution architect or B2B, for example, right? So you got other options as well. For example, if the CTA is not your cup of tea as of now, or if you think right now is not the right time to pursue the CTA, and you're not ready for that kind of commitment, you do have all these other options, and you have these alternatives that Salesforce provides. So definitely that's something that you can pursue. So it's more of what do you want, like does the CTA make sense for you at this time? So I think that's a question that you probably need to definitely look inward and definitely try and answer that. And remember, there's no compulsion at all. There are different ways of being a good architect in the Salesforce ecosystem. So that's what I want to add. Thank you.
Cool. So Tiham asks a question just soon after that, and he asks a question that he has been in the ecosystem for about 2 to 3 years, and how should they shape their career, and what should be their goals and career plan. So I think Kelvin just pointed out that there are more certifications, right? But I'm just going to let Osama answer that. What does he think that anybody who's 2 to 3 years into it, and I'll then probably add something to that.
I think it's different to now. It is different to how it was back then when we were 2 to 3 years into our careers. I think back then the platform wasn't that big. It was limited to sales service and portals. Not even community cloud existed back then. So I think it was kind of easier for us back then to think about what do you want to do. I think the key back then was to just continue focusing on the core platform. I think now, because of the evolution of the platform and how things have changed because of the acquisitions over the last few years, I think it's what I would suggest is once you are into 2 to 3 years in your career, I think you will have a fairly good idea about what excites you most. So I think you should kind of follow that lead, right? So you should know what excites you the most, where you think what is it that you want to learn. I would also suggest that I think now is the time to start learning a new industry as well. So yes, technology is important, but at the same time, start focusing on a specific business domain. It could be financial services. It could be, telecommunication or other industries that are there, education, healthcare, whatever. But I think it's once you have that foundational knowledge of the platform, I think after that it's good to kind of align yourself to an industry and then continue that, because I think that business to acumen will help you in growing yourself as a consultant and as an architect. So I think to summarize that, 2 to 3 years into your career, I think you should figure out your passion and what excites you the most, and just follow that.
Yeah. So I'm just going to add. So Osama said one thing which I totally agree with. When we were growing up, we didn't really have a lot of guidance, right? And all we had was so like I was working in a software house down in Karachi, and my job was to solve customers' problems without really understanding why that is a problem and why do they need it solved, right? But I didn't have the industry knowledge. And then I had the experience, and then I had the opportunity to actually work on client side. So I jumped ship from a vendor. I went into a customer side, especially in the telco sector, then the financial sector. I spent close to 7-8 years as a technology leader on the customer side, being a part of the customer team, where I actually understood why are these things problems and why the customer needs them solved. Right? So understanding the business. So that's a very important thing. Now, when I go to customers, when I'm talking to them, I'm solving that problem for them in a different level, because I understand the industry, I understand the business, I understand how they make money, I understand how they save money, I understand what are their trends, what's important to them, what's not important to them, right? So you can still be in the ecosystem, you can still be a technologist, but you can have industry knowledge while working on the industry/customer side, right? As more and more people around you, more industries, more customers keep on getting on Salesforce, you'll have the opportunity to expand into that, right? So when I started working on Siebel in Pakistan, there was no one there. Right, 4 or 5 years into working in Siebel, I got an opportunity to work in a telco in Pakistan, another telco in Pakistan. And that's when in the Middle East, the whole world went after Siebel, and I was there in the Middle East, right? So as you keep on moving along further in the system, there'll be more opportunities opening up for you to be able to work on both sides of the table, customer, partner, right? You will learn few things from the customer side, you will learn few things from the partner side, and Your job is to keep on learning and keep on doing that. Now, 2-3 years should give you, so like if I were you, I would actually give myself the most opportunity in flavoring new technologies, tools, right? And how do you do that? Now, one of the things that we have done really well in Salesforce is that we have an open ecosystem, right? So what I would like you to do, and what I would invite you to do, so is to look at the Dreamforce keynote sessions to understand what are the problems that we're solving for our customers, which are the directions that we're taking it, and look at our previous keynotes as well. Look at Dreamforce sessions, understand technology, right, and get a flavor of some of the new things which are coming up. B2C cloud is coming, Tableau is coming up strong, MuleSoft is coming up strong, Velocity is coming up strong, Utilities is coming strong, Financial Services Cloud is coming up strong, right? So all of these things are new flavors that you will get. After 5-6 years, you will know what you want to do, right? Because for me, it's been telco. Osama is in a different part of our team, which focus on a different industry. Kelvin is on the third part of our team, which is basically focused on another industry. So we are all Salesforce people, we're all CTS, but we are looking at different industries and solving different type of problems for different industrial customers, right? And as you keep on maturing, you will understand what is more favorable, what is more challenging, and what are things that you want to do, and what are things that you don't want to do. Like there are some technologies there's some things or some industries that I would not like to do, right? Because they don't interest me, or because I don't like what they do, or maybe just I've never been interested, right? And I'm sure that for everybody on this call, including Osama, Kelvin, is the same thing, right? And everybody I work with, yeah, I don't want to do that, or I want to do this, and you will learn this, right? Some people really find integration, data migration amazing. You can do this for hours. There's some people are like, don't even talk to me about it, right? Because I don't want to talk about it. So again, being into Salesforce is quite high level. Figure out what that niche is, figure out what is that attraction, right? And if you're into 2-3 years, so that means you have good foundational knowledge. You've worked on 5, 6, 7, 8 projects. Now you have good foundation knowledge. You're moving from a junior developer into a developer or a senior developer role. It's the time to start thinking about what you would do for the next 15 years, right? Like, and this is really important, right? So if I look at myself, I did about 15-16 years with Siebel as technology, and then I moved into Salesforce, and I've been with Salesforce for 7-8 years, right? I think so my plan is for the next 15 years, I'm still going to be doing Salesforce, right? But for the first 15-16 years that I did Siebel, it was not the same role. I wasn't a developer all this, right? I moved from different role to a different role to a different role, working, exposing myself to different things and different challenges. You will also get that, grasp that, earn that, learn that, conquer that, and move on. Thanks.
And one thing I would also add is, don't forget the focus on soft skills. I think learning technology, whatever we spoke about, it's great, but do not lose the focus on soft skills, because that's one thing that's going to differentiate you among others. And there is something, I think the people don't really focus on that at the start of their career, especially where we come from. So just don't lose that focus. Keep learning, keep investing time to learn soft skills.
Yep. Okay, so Hamza, I think we only have one more question. So let's just take that one, and then we can finally end the session. Okay, I always think, this is from anonymous, with this, but the question is, I always think that being a good architect is knowing when not to use Salesforce. But how do you convince stakeholders that the solution shouldn't be in Salesforce? Amazing.
Great question.
So a great question. So remember, if you questioned earlier, I talked about the horrors that we have done on other customers. So some of those things we have done out of our, let's say that we did not know, right? Or we were not exposed to it, or because when you're a developer, when you're a senior developer and you've been asked to make choices, you will make the choices which are easier for you. Sometimes without thinking of the bigger picture, right? And after 5-10 years, you figure out, well, maybe I should have done it a different way. Right? That's a question of maturity. But I think it's really important to understand what Salesforce does and where we need other things to do things for us, right? Now, we have this conversation every day. I've paid so much money for this thing, and you are telling me that you cannot do this? Like, nobody's telling you cannot do this. We're saying you should not do this. They're two different things, right? The ability to do something and the ability to and the will to do something are two different things, right? And this is where things like key design decisions, options pack, descriptions. So there is a process, As an architect, you will learn this process, right? You will come up with an option pack. An option pack is if there's one option, there's second option, there's third option, right? And the first, second, and if you Google, if you've never done an option pack, look at a technology option pack online, Google, you'll find tons of examples of how people do option pack. That these are the options, this is the path in front of us. In this path, you have these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options. And these are the pros and cons of these options, right? And then you come up with an assessment criteria. This is an assessment criteria. And it's basically, so remember, if I come into a room with you, and again, this is back to aptitude, attitude, and professionalism. When I come into a room with you and I have a 2-hour discussion, it's not going to be a discussion after the first 15 minutes. It's probably going to be an argument, right? So how do you quantify that? How do you make sure that you are able to measure it, right? How you're able to show value or show weight, and then show, and your job is to show an equal balanced view, right? Without your agendas, without your outcome as an architect to help making the choice. So in option 1, this is what will happen. These are the shows, these are the pros, these are the cons, this is the description, this is the cost, this is the effort, this is the alignment with enterprise architecture, this is blah, blah, blah. These are the skill set requirements. This is option number 2, this is option number 3. And you present it back to a customer, right? And say that, guys, this is it. This is what it's going to cost us in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I'll leave that to you. So once you're able to quantify, qualify that first to yourself, then you can easily explain it to somebody else. And this is something which I say to nearly everybody I coach on the CTA. And this is something I love about Albert Einstein. I didn't get it, but then I get it now, right? Is that if you cannot explain a problem simply enough, it basically means you do not understand it completely enough. So if you're able to simply explain a problem to somebody, or simply and when I change it around to our world, when you're able to simply convince or influence somebody of a solution very easily, is because you understand it, and because of you, now we understand it, and that's why you're looking at your point of view. So spend time in explaining it, get the tools, techniques, processes, and align in you, practice them. How to come up with option packs, how to convince other people that this is the right thing. And sometimes when I'm working on an option pack, I do that thing myself. And it's not convincing that guy. First, I need to convince myself that whether the choices or the negotiation or the argument that I'm presenting is worth it or not, right? And so a lot of the times I'll come back and I'll say, well, option number 2, 3, 4 is basically the same. I was preferring option number 3, but the reality is 2, 3, 4 is the same. When I look at the way, when I'm able to quantify it, it's basically the same thing, right? In terms of value, in terms of outcome, in terms of purpose, in terms of a lot of other different parameters. And that's a skill, but you can learn this thing by practicing it, right? But this is a very good question. Osama, Kelvin, you want to jump in?
I think you have summarized it well. Yeah, the only thing I would say is that being CTAs and being program architects specifically, we run into this pretty much, at every other customer, where we have to convince that why you shouldn't be building this on platform. Because if you end up doing that, then like Khalid said, we should quantify the pros and cons, and then they'll run into issues and they'll start complaining and they'll start complaining about the platform. So I think you should handle it at the start of it. I think using the framework, which kind of Khalid briefly talked about. You should be able to quantify the options and then take it from there. But yeah, I think this is something we come across all the time.
Kevin, you want to add something before we close the call to this question?
I think both of you summarized this pretty well. And again, coming back to Khalid's point, I mean, architects have to be neutral, and we have to always look out for the customer's best interests. And especially this example wherein you extend Salesforce, put it on some other system. Sometimes there also may be situations wherein the Salesforce solution may not be the best part, like because the customer already has it, or maybe the Salesforce, that particular solution isn't mature enough. So and even then, you probably need the conviction of maybe putting these options, as Khalid and Osama said, and then letting the pros and cons speak for themselves, and maybe have a recommendation. So that's the way to go about it. But always being objective about that particular recommendation is the way to go.
Yep.
Well, okay, thank you so much for our whole audience. We requested for only 30 minutes for this session. And to be honest, this is for this event as well. It was last year. Sure that many people who did attend this session You'll find many questions are appearing up here, but I'm not escalated. Audience, we do have another session panelist starting at 8:30 session, but you can ask, continue asking the question. Say thank you so much once again, Khalid, to Sam for joining us. This is really helping us in more value to this box and driven. Thank you so much once again for.
Thank you. And I just want to say congratulations to Pakistan Dreaming, such a great event and really heartening to see people coming all across the world for this. And congratulations once again, Hamza and team. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think special
you,
thanks to
guys.
Calvin. Special thanks to Calvin for the support. Really appreciate your participation in this event, Calvin.
Always. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hamza, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for you inviting us. This was really swell, right? And thanks for leading this banner in Pakistan. Really appreciate it, mate. And for everybody who is on this call, who's on the chat, we from all of us, we wish you the best of luck. And hopefully in the next few years, we will see a lot more CTS coming from down there. Thank you very much, guys, and wish you the best of luck.
Great. So
Thanks, guys.
for you guys. Bye. For everyone. So hope you run up onto or the gift box. Opening the certification voucher. Soon in a couple of days. Thank you so much.